Hello everybody and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. 45 weeks later has brought us to here, the last frontier state of Alaska. And so, we're going to begin the final journey of our first touring of North America by informally meeting a species of fish that seems to defy all odds. Salmon, otherwise known by their Latin name of Salmo salar. However, unlike most Safari Mack episodes where we have two parts, today we're just going to do a single episode where we're actually looking more into the life cycle of this incredible species. And so, therefore, if you're ready, let's begin. Now, unlike the Atlantic salmon, which has a distribution of North America, Greenland, Iceland, most of Northern Europe, as well as up into Russia, here in the Pacific Northwest region, there are 6 kinds of salmon, from the Chinook being the largest to this guy here being the smallest, the pink salmon. These fish all have one common goal: reproduction. See, what is it that drives them for reproduction? It's a simple concept: migration. Migration is when animals leave an area and travel to a different spot for a number of reasons: to find food and water, or to have offspring. And let me tell you a little special secret about migration. So powerful is this urge or this instinct is to go, that animals will risk everything to get to their destination, even their own lives. Salmon seem to take this strong will, and they press forward on the acceleration by tenfold. And so, let's start off with the first stage, their birth. So, we begin in the upriver systems, where buried in the gravel, baby salmon, or what we like to call fry, are just emerging from their eggs and have this huge gelatinous-like substance, which is really the yolk sac that they first feed off. Once they suck that completely dry, they get out of the gravel and swim straight up to the surface, where they take their first breath to fill up their swim bladders, and then these newly hatched salmon, or what we call fry, they begin their purpose of eating as much as possible. Now, for different species of salmon, it varies on how long they're going to stay in the river regions, but it could be anywhere. Some spend nearly 6 months, it'll be 2 years before they begin to make their way to the open ocean. So here in the open ocean, they continue to feed and get themselves bigger and fatter, as well as playing their role in Alaska's circle of life by being prey for different animals, from southern resident orcas, seals, and even different kinds of birds of prey like this bald eagle. But then, for a while, for at least a good number of years, for a good majority of their life, they're hanging out in the open ocean. But then all of a sudden, some kind of instinct drives them right back to the river outlet. But what is it? Believe it or not, no one really knows what it is. Some think that it's chemical cues, others think it's a kind of scent that the salmon can smell in the water. Either way, as soon as they reach a certain age in their lives, all of a sudden they stop what they're doing, even their body stops what they're doing, and they go straight towards the river outlets, where first they need to get used to the idea of having fresh water inside their gills, having spent now a great portion of their life out in sea. And so, they go through a kind of metamorphosis, kind of like how a caterpillar eventually transforms into a butterfly. So while they're at sea, salmon are usually black and white. But when it's time for them to swim upriver and spawn, they change to a kind of pinkish color, and males often develop this kind of hooked jaw, which they use to fight each other for dominance, for control of female fish. And this, like I said, the will to migrate and get to their ancient spawning grounds, it truly is indescribable. And they face many different obstacles, from low rushing rivers to high rushing rivers, and different predators, bald eagles, or other birds of prey, bears, even wolves have actually been documented catching salmon. Not just the dead, but they've actually been seen catching them alive. But either way, no matter what the odds, despite everything, and despite this onset of slaughter, the will is strong. Like I said, it's just indescribable. Finally, they've made it to their ancestral breeding grounds, where now begins the next part of their chapter. So first, the females using their caudal fins, or what we call the tail fin, they begin using it to dig up as much of the gravel as possible and deep enough so that other freshwater predators can't get to this next vital element, eggs. As soon as the nests are dug, the females deposit their eggs, while males nearby compete with each other for the right to fertilize these eggs. Then, as soon as that's all done, they bury the eggs and then they swim away downstream. But what started this journey with the goal of mass breeding, sadly, comes mass death. Yes, unfortunately, for all salmon species here in the Pacific Northwest, they only breed one time in their life. Once. And then they're gone. It is sad, but this is enough. But they still, even in death, they still serve their purpose. You see, as their bodies deteriorate, or in a way return to the river, they're returning vital nutrients to the river that other freshwater microorganisms depend on, and even those washed up on shore, scavengers from foxes, raccoons, badgers, you name it, even bears, they'll scavenge. They begin taking off whatever they can get, and whatever they can't eat, the trees later on absorb them and get fertilized. So while it's sad that they die, they do serve a great purpose. This is what we lead them to be called as a keystone species. So this truly is an important fish to keep around for the next 100 years. Well, really more than that. Yet, despite it all, unfortunately, some salmon populations are having a bit of a hard time. So from typical overfishing to pollution, even climate change is starting to see an effect on this magnificent species, as some scientists have found that the yolk sacs are being smaller and smaller, or they're not forming properly, and that's a major problem because the salmon need cold waters. They can't really survive in the warm. Even human-made dams have been a problem for a while. However, we are working to fix this problem. And despite all that I just said, here in the Pacific Northwest, salmon populations are actually much better off. See, here's a fun fact. In the state constitution of Alaska, they have made it adamant that the harvesting of resources is heavily managed. So as long as this exists, there will never be a time where salmon will be over-harvested. If they're dropping in numbers, they're going to stop. How else can we help them though? Even if you're not eating them, people are cleaning up the rivers to keep pollution at bay and keep their freshwater ecosystems safe. And as a result of great conservation, as recently as 2 years ago, the Columbian River system in Oregon has actually seen salmon swimming upstream after 80 years of absence. So all of this is done because people like you care about this incredible fish. And we need to continue to show this support by tearing down old dams or building little bridges to help them get upriver, aiding them in whatever they can to continue their epic tale of reproduction. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give that your informal introduction, but join me next week as we finally go to Alaska to meet the moose. Therefore, until next week, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.